I think the more he lifts it off the bed, the less it's going to turn. He's got it almost lifted off the bed right now.
So you're saying it would turn if he didn't?
Yeah.
So then why should he?
So that's it, Jazzy.
He doesn't want to hear from you.
Okay, I bought this old relic of a komatsu. It's a komatsu 120. Needs a little tender love and care, but I'm gonna do that. This here, it needs a door to cover this, which I'll try to fabricate best I can. The main thing it needs a final drive. But it starts up real good. To loosen the track on an excavator, in here there's a fitting. I don't know if I can show you that fitting or not. I'll try. There's a fitting in there that you loosen up. And then the grease, the only thing that tightens a track on an excavator is grease, believe it or not. And so by releasing that, I'm going to try to push this track back. And you can see from here that this thing will slide back. And that's what loosens the track. Then when you're done, you just put a grease gun on there and pump this right back out. Amazing as that seems. So we're going to put a log in the bucket, and Mrs. W is going to hold it here, and I'm going to try to push this track back and loosen it. What I'm going to do is take a couple of these pads off, because I think the link is right under here. It's really hard to tell. I don't see any difference in anything, except that one has been welded to keep from coming off, so I'm assuming that's probably the one. I hope it is anyway. I don't have any help, so I've got to do this by myself, and I needed a way to hold the pin so I can get a good hard swing on it. So I kind of fabricated this thing to hold the pin for me. It'll probably jump out after each one, but that's okay. At least nobody's going to get hurt that way. And I need to heat this baby up back here. I pounded away on this for hours over the weekend, and I got nowhere because my torches were empty. So I went this morning and filled them. Now I can heat this piece here. This piece, I think it's loose in here, so it's just a matter of this one. So I'll heat that up and swing for everything I got and hope for the best. This is not a perfect setup. It holds the pin, but I really only get one shot at it, and then I have to retighten up the clamps. It flies apart. But I'm hoping that it'll hold on long enough for me to get that pin started. I'm going to heat that up now, and at least this way I'm not hurting somebody if I miss. It did move a little. It is moving. All right, now we got to reset it. That's encouraging. It moved about 1/8 of an inch, which I know doesn't sound like much, but that's more than I've been able to get. try a different kind of clamp here and see if that'll help. All right, I'm going to try something different here. I put these straps on to hold it. And I think it will hold it. But I'm going to have to be really careful not to melt them when I'm heating that thing up. So if I can get that heated up without melting these straps, this might actually work this time. The problem is I've got slop here, and I've got to keep that from bouncing around. I mean, the straps are holding it, but I got to keep this thing, I got to get the slop out of this. Would you look at that? Finally got that pin to come out. Whew. There we have it. Okay, I'm at it again. You know, it's funny, if you don't like the weather in the Hudson Valley, wait a couple hours. 2 days ago, it was 90 some degrees, and I was dying out here in the heat trying to pound this pin out of here. I finally got it. Then yesterday it rained all day, and now today I got a shirt on and I'm freezing. Hard to figure it. But anyways, I'm going to raise this machine up now and finish taking the bolts out of this. And then this gear will come off, and then I'll finish taking the bolts out of the back side of this final drive, and we're ready to pull this thing out of here. Now the problem is, this final drive weighs 350 pounds. And I'm not sure how, I'll get this one out of here. I'm just not sure how I'm going to get the other one in here. But we'll figure something out. It's not as heavy as I thought it would be. This whole process was not easy. Thank God it's done. That part anyway. Well, final drive is in. Now to hook everything back up. Well, the sprocket for the final drive from the old final drive doesn't match up with the new final drive. They're assuring me that that's still the right final drive, and they're looking for a sprocket that will fit my final drive and have the outside dimensions and number of teeth that go to my excavator. So I'm still waiting on that, and it probably will be a couple more days before I really know what's going on because it's a weekend. So in the meantime, I'm going to try to make that door that's missing on the side of it. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. know, people are going to say, why did you go through all that trouble to bend this and then wrap it with angle iron? More than one reason. Number one, anytime you bend a piece of steel, it adds strength to it. Number two, I don't have the means to make a good, proper bend. So I'm giving the bend, it's making it stronger. I'm wrapping it with the angle iron, which will make it even stronger yet and give me a good place to hook hinges to. And it looks better. And number three, I can weld in here and leave the face of this with no welds, which will make the face look a lot cleaner. So there's several reasons for me to do it this way. It certainly isn't the easiest way to do it, but this is a door that's going to swing. So I want as much strength to it as I can. So that's why I'm doing that. This also has a bend in it. It's not just a flat panel. So I've got that to work with too. Also, I'm not that good a welder. This hides my welds. My welds hold, but they're not pretty. When I was bending the last one, I didn't have as many clamps on there, and it bowed in the center, which meant the bend isn't straight. So I put 3 extra clamps on here this time. I'm hoping that will help. Okay, so here's where we're at. I got the old final drive out, the new final drive in. But if you look at this, it's not the same as this one over here. This one is considerably bigger. Now they tell me they gave me the right one, and it did bolt up, but the sprocket didn't fit. This is the old sprocket, and this bolt pattern is way bigger than this on the new one. So you can see that those two are not the same. So they sent me this new sprocket, and it looks like it's going to fit on this final drive. So I'm hoping this all works out. They tell me this is the right final drive. So I don't know if somebody changed the final drive over there at some point, and this one too, because it matched. Or I don't know what the story is. But it's not the same. So hopefully this is going to work. It bolted up. The hydraulics I haven't hooked up, but they look like they're right. So I guess we'll see what happens. So the next step would be to get this sprocket bolted to the final drive. Then we can try to get the track back on. Okay, it bolted on just perfectly. So the outside's right. And the bolt pattern's right. So, I don't know. Hopefully these fittings will fit the new final drive. These are the original fittings. So they should fit them hoses. Huh. Nice, they fit. At least that one does. Now, let's see if this whole thing should come off, I think. Okay, here's the deal. I hooked this up, and this thing goes round and round. but it's backwards. When I push the lever forward, it goes backwards. So what I'm gonna have to do is swap these two hoses. I gotta take these off in order to do that. And I'm gonna lose a bunch more fluid doing it, but I don't have any choice. That's what's gotta be done. These things came through like this, so I just assumed that the top one would be hooked to the top, but it's not. But this was all unhooked when I got this machine, so I didn't take anything off. There was no way for me to do anything as far as marking them. I just had to hope for the best, and it didn't work.
No, get away. Get away. Get away. Get away. Get out of there, pup. This way. More? Yeah.
be. Don't look much. Looks like it should go in. No, it's too much.
This guy.
Now to tighten the tracks, there's a grease fitting in here, which I released to loosen the tracks. And now I pump grease in there, and that'll tighten the track. And you can watch this. You can slowly see it going up. Okay, what we have here, the guy that owned it before me evidently put a new sleeve in, and it's fairly tight with the pin, but it's not tight to the steel around it. So I'm going to weld this in. I know everybody's going to say you shouldn't weld the sleeve in. I know that. But this thing desperately needs, the other side is way worse. It desperately needs this pin to be held solid so that this thing doesn't rock. This metal around here is fatigued and it needs to be welded in solid. I'm not an excavator. I'm not going to use this every day for a business. So if it holds up for 2 or 3 years, it's probably fine. It may at some point have to be line bored and a new sleeve put in. But this is the easiest way for me to fix this at this point. And I think if I can get it welded in good enough, it should be okay. become a little too hot. I got it. It's not pretty, but it's welded in pretty hard, pretty solid. I put a lot of steel in there. This thumb is down too far in the fixed position. So what I want to do is take this pin out and put something else up here further so that I can get the thumb out of the way. Because if you reach all the way out, the thumb actually hits before the bucket does. Whoever put this on, they should have welded this piece further up, but they didn't. So now I'm going to try to, I want to try to curl the bucket and lift it as much as I can, and hopefully that'll be enough to get it up out of the way. Because this is a heavy piece of steel. I don't want to have to try to lift this every time. So I want to use the bucket, you know, curl into the bucket to do that. So I don't know how much higher I can go and still curl the bucket. I'm not sure how much more it goes, but we'll see.
Say what you say, Caden. Yo, baby bird. The baby bird flies.
Fly, baby bird, fly.
Okay, this is what I've come up with. I used that piece of angle iron to flip this thing up as far as I can, and then it'll fall over. And then I have these chunks of steel here that I cut holes in, and I'll weld these in. And then when it's time for me to put this thumb down, I can pull this pin, raise up the boom, and let it flop down till it hits the bucket, and then I can use the bucket to adjust it down here where it wants to be. So what I got to do is weld these babies in right here. Now it's up out of the way. When I go to use it, I can pull that pin, curl the bucket, catch these things, and then guide it to where it needs to go in one of these 3 holes here. Perfect. I just bent that. I'll put that on its handle. I think that'll work. Not perfect, but it'll do the job. Looks a lot better than it did. Boy, that ain't been changed in a while. I sanded it just to get any loose rust off, any loose paint. There's not really much, but this way I can kind of treat the rust a little bit. Before I paint, I'm going to use this navel jelly. It's supposed to help get rid of the rust. Right here you can see a big space, a smaller one here, but a bigger one here. And that bucket just moves back and forth, real sloppy. So I'm gonna attempt to make a couple of shims to slide in on this to tighten that up. We'll see how I make out on that. Okay, that eliminated a lot of the slop in that. It's not all gone, and it's not the only place, but it eliminated a lot of it. Wow, that oil's pretty black. That thing was only finger tight. You know, people wonder why it costs so much for an excavator. This motor takes 4.5 gallons of oil. It's $85 for the filter and the oil to change the oil on this thing. 4.5 gallons. What we have here is these pads are loose. And what we have to do is there's a four-sided nut under here that should fall into a groove and allow me to tighten it up, but the problem is they don't. So I have to get in there with a wrench, which is not easy because a wrench really doesn't want to fit in there. So it's a bit of a challenge. You can do it. I've done a few, but it's not easy. Okay. All right, that one actually caught like it's supposed to, tightened up. Now that one actually had a regular nut on it. It's a little easier when they have that. What I did is I salvaged some handles for the for the track levers out of Jesse's other big machine. That's really a parts machine. And these things threaded onto the rod going down. The ones on mine were just the opposite. So I found bolts that thread into these. I'm going to cut them off shorter. I put the 2 nuts on so I can get the threads back when I'm done. And then these went on mine. So I'll weld these together and I can screw it into mine, screw the levers on this. And we'll see how that works out. Yeah, that'll be good. How's that? So there they are, screwed on. So everybody was worried about me being thrown forward and getting stabbed by these things. So now we got these cushion levers up here. They actually kind of match this too. Even though it came from a totally different brand machine. I couldn't really show it because it was so tight back there, but I just bolted in a seat belt so that Jesse's worried that I'm going to tip this thing over or something and it's going to throw me out of it. He's probably right. So now I have a seat belt. Okay, I'm not done with the excavator. I still got some cosmetic stuff to do to it and a couple other little things, but I want to try it out. I want to do some digging with it. Earlier on, we put a electric line down through here. In digging that, we dug up some old tires and stuff. So I'm going to move them out of the way and then fill this in. I'm not going to bury these tires. Okay, well, I got a conglomeration of stuff here in the way. This hose that I need to take off is this one, which is way in the back, which means I'm going to have to get rid of all this stuff just to get to it, which is not going to be easy. I was up visiting with Andrew the other day, and I told him that I took the seat belt out of this tractor to put it in that excavator. He didn't like that idea too much. He said I need to have one on both. So he had this seat belt laying around, and he gave it to me and told me to go put it in. So that's what I'm doing. There, works like a charm. What I'm doing here, there's a lever here, or there was a lever here, that when you lifted it or lowered it, would shut the hydraulics off, so that if you wanted to get out, you could shut the hydraulics off without worrying about hitting something and moving something and getting hurt. And it's broke off, so I'm gonna devise something else. It's going to be same principle, but I'm kind of winging it here. But I need this working. It's too dangerous not to be working. So I flattened that out, and I hooked it in the back to the rod that goes up and down. So now I need to drill a hole here and put a bolt in there, which I then can use as a pivot point. And I can take this arm and bend it up. So I ended up using a solid piece of steel, and that turns on and off the controls. So this is the side that was really all beat up and stuff. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. Okay, so what I'm doing here, this hole I started digging quite a while ago, and it's for the foundation for my house. But we had a change of plans, and we're going to move it further that way. I hadn't wanted to do that because I didn't want to take those trees down, but we decided to get it further off of the driveway and move it down that way, and we can enter the basement down there in that field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pile of dirt here that's now in the way, and I'm going to just put it over here in this hole, fill this end of the hole in, and that way I'll have room to put other stuff. And I got to take these trees down. I'd rather not have them come over top of these piles of dirt. So while I'm doing this, Mrs. W is going to be collecting rocks for the stone wall over there, and other places as well. So she's going to be scooting in and out getting rocks as I uncover them. So that's the plan, and that gives me a chance to get used to this excavator. I'm used to backhoe controls, and this has cat controls, so it's a complete opposite. So it's going to take a little bit of a learning curve for me to get used to this machine. So I figured this is a good place to start. I'm pretty happy with how the excavator came out. I think it's going to do a good job for me. I still got to get used to running it a little bit with the controls and whatnot. And the controls are a little finicky, but I'll get it after a while. I think it's going to work out good for me. I got to take those trees down right there. There's 3 or 4 or 5 trees right there, a couple over here, and this one old big maple over here that's dead. I'll be doing that soon, and once that's done, I can start actually excavating the hole. So I want to start doing that pretty soon. I've got my sawmill down there, way down in the back, and you can see behind the building I've got a 275-gallon drum for fuel for this machine, and I'm going to build a little building off the back of that, just like a lean-to shed, just to help protect it, and I can put gas cans and whatnot in there. So that'll be coming up soon too. So I think that's as far as I'm going to go with this video. This video is pretty long, so I guess I'll see you on the next one.
Cookies. Come here. Come here. There. Oh, shit. Oh, my goodness. They like it. They like it a lot. Go ahead. Now you get to pick up all the pieces.